Thank you, Daniel, for this introduction. As mentioned, the sports tech industry during the pandemic and up to now has shown constant growth. The sports tech industry market cap grew 166% in 2021. The main objectives of this panel is not to say anything about NFT and metaverse. All right, let's see how we can do that. We can win this part. Now, the focus will be about all the hot topics related to sports tech. Anything to do with fan engagement, tokens, monetization, performance, data. So we have an unbelievable panel, and having 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more for you, it's really, really challenging. But let's jump straight in. Not mentioning anything about NFT, but Frank, I cannot help it. You heard earlier Gilo, and you heard Dapper Labs, mentioning about, maybe you tell us later on if FIBA would consider to do something also like the Dapper Labs model, also put it, use it in your amazing platform. So I want to start with Alex from Socios. Alex, congrats on the project or deal you have with UEFA. And as we heard earlier, everybody's talking about personalization of fans and tokens. If you can share with us, I understand there is the clubs, the federations are looking to enhance, to bring more revenue. But what is the value for the fan? Yeah? And how this can maybe serve personalization, which I know, it's a big, North Star everybody is aiming for.
Thank you very much for the invitation. So I think the first question is, what is a fan in 2022? I don't think there is a definition of one category of fans that could sum up that. We believe at Socios.com that there is a range of different tribes, different categories of fans that consume sports and consume entertainment in a different way. Someone who is based in Japan, in Korea, in Brazil, in Turkey will consume differently than someone that is based in London or based in Spain. And what we've learned during the last 4 years is that sports teams are very good in creating content and engaging with their more so-called quote-unquote traditional fans. But it's much more difficult to engage and monetize the 99% of their fans that they don't have in the stadium and that are global. But that works the other way around. For a fan that is in Japan, I don't want the same thing that for a fan that is in Spain. Therefore, you need to create different products and different features. In our case, we created this concept of fan tokens, which are digital assets. And luckily for me today, I can say they are not NFTs, so don't blame me for that. And these digital assets are just a new loyalty program, membership program, 2.0, 3.0, whatever you want to call it. And by owning that, wherever you are in the world, you have access to a range of benefits, of services, including voting in some polls and influence. And that's what we give. At the end, we think for a fan, two things matter. One is recognition. Me, anywhere in the world, I am someone to the community and to the brand that I believe I belong to. And two, it's the fact that I belong, I can have a say, I can have an influence. That's the two things we are trying to capture and scale for the fans globally.
Got it. And this also allows a full personalization. So as a brand, club, federation, I have all the data, on the fan. I know exactly everything, correct me if I'm wrong, everything about him, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and that's what we do with the teams. We subject to GDPR, obviously, but we have access to information that sometimes clubs don't in terms of personal data in order to customize, I will not say customize the experience, but rather to understand at least who are their fans. I think it's more about understanding.
Got it. Frank from FIBA. Frank, from a federation viewpoint, how do you see, I know you're testing and quite active in the fan engagement run for many years. How do you see this and what is your strategy on that?
Well, thanks Amir for the invitation, and good afternoon to everybody in this fantastic summit. Well, I think when it comes to fan engagement, I dare to say that sport and specifically maybe even more basketball is been always very active in engagement. And I'm fresh from the plane out of the All-Star game in Cleveland, and when you talk about engaging with fans in an arena, to start with that, of course, basketball and our friends at the NBA are leading the way. When it comes to the digital engagement, I have to say that FIBA has been extremely active on various platforms over the last 10, 15 years. Being a global organization with also limited resources, in a way, that is a very cost-efficient way to engage and to build. But maybe a little bit building on what I think Alex before was hinting at, is that in the digital space, we have been very successful in terms of clicks, views, and also engagement. But I would say de facto, to a large extent, we have been creating communities for the platforms. And the monetization of our activities still until today is very limited. So in that space, I think the topics we discuss here today, whether they are the non-to-be-mentioned NFTs or the to-be-mentioned fan tokens, I think are ways to do that. Now, I think everybody has said it today, we're still at the start of the journey to see where that really goes and to what extent that engagement is becoming really significant and sustainable rather than, I would say, a flash in the pan.
Yeah. So like building a long-term relationship and like a meaningful community with the fans. And speaking about the fans, let's maybe come into the stadium. And we have here Robert from the Bundesliga. I know, Robert, you were the first, I think in 2019, doing a live match alongside, with 5G. Maybe you can share a little bit about this experience, and also what's your vision on that and how this is going? Because, I spoke to somebody from a big brand in the US. He said that, they're not sure about 5G. It's not that important now for them. What's your views on that?
I'd like to talk to him. I don't know who it was. That would be interesting. I mean, it all fits into the same space. And yes, we were the first, as far as we know, football league to do a test in 2019 in a match between Wolfsburg and Hoffenheim in partnership with Vodafone and Sky, our partner. And the whole point was it was a test. It was to see if for Sky subscribers, we could create an in-stadium experience which would add to them watching live. And you're going to get people who say, hey, 45 minutes, I'm focused, I don't want to have second screen. And you're going to have other fans who are saying, no, that guy went fast. Now, hold on, how fast did he go? And then you can go and get the information. So the experience was definitely a completely new one. But just like the NFTs, I'm going to say it, so literally all of the innovations, all technology that you're talking about here, the success and the relevance is only coming through trial and error. And therefore, you've got to give it a shot. And what I can say is that was 2019. If we move forward now to literally in the last 2 weeks, we had a studio show with our partner, DAZN, which was done purely as a 5G broadcast, which meant that if you take it from a production standpoint in this situation, everything is cheaper, everything is quicker. We have the latency now that we didn't have, Frank may recall the early days of UEFA New Media when we were doing innovation, and innovation was, I remember there was this one sentence, it's like the internet is now ready with the concomitant. So in parallel, the broadband is going to be big enough for us to make these amazing products. Well, at the time they were amazing. We had like 4 to 5 second videos, but compared to 5G, it was nothing at all. So all of this is, we love innovation at the Bundesliga, like everyone around this table. We like to try things, and above all, it comes back to the same thing: giving the fans, a different experience. This is in stadium we're talking about. You can't neglect in stadium. You can't neglect approaching the stadium. You can't neglect leaving the stadium. And 5G helps. So I think it's worth experimenting.
Yeah, I think from first hand, working closely with FC Köln in the last 5 years in our innovation hub there, I can, we saw the innovative approach all around there, but still, I want to make it a little bit difficult for you.
Okay.
We're speaking about 5 years for a few years. I spoke to a club in the Premier League. Yeah, Premier League. Yeah, I don't want to put you into trouble, so I'm going to the Premier League.
Who's that?
And there is no Wi-Fi in the stadium yet, without mentioning names. Now, the question: why is it so slow? What has to happen for this to happen, to move forward, so we can sit in the stadium and and see the replay and see something happening and see different angles? Why is it so slow? Sorry for getting so emotional about that.
It's fine. Look, the technology is there. What I can tell you is, certainly from the test that we did in 2019, you're going to have to equip the stadiums with the right technology, right? So you're going to have to bring the 5G into the stadium, which means the blocks, so that the latency and the speed is quick enough. So it's a question of investment. And people are doing that at different rates. I know that there are certain stadiums fully equipped with 5G, but they are still few and far between. But they will be coming, as with all technologies, as the 5G becomes slightly older and as new technologies come, they become more affordable. So it's a question, of time, and then of desire and investment.
Got it. So, we all believe that, things are taking pace and moving forward now faster, but let's see, what will happen in this space. I want to move now to Javier from Aser. Javier, obviously, most of the people remember the great leadership you brought in the first days of SportsTech, I call it, when you started the Barcelona Innovation Hub and did a great, I would say, work on a global scale, and thank you for that. And now in your work with Aser, I want to also ask you a little bit about investment, because I know you're quite active there. But I want to touch the performance side, because it's not usually there is, the markets, I would say, potential there. The revenue potential is not that big, yeah? So you wouldn't find, our investors here in the crowd usually, most of them are not going to be lining up there. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. But I want to ask you, I know that there is a lot of technology which moving from top athletes, whether it's training, whether it's, how they eat, going and be, the idea is to deliver this to the general public. How do you see this, and, how Aser is looking at that?
Thank you, Amir, and thank you for the invitation and having me in this amazing forum. And thank you for mentioning Barca Innovation Hub, which definitely is one of the key innovation centers in the world. So I'm very proud that we set it up some years ago, and actually still happy to help them in anything they need. You're absolutely right. The point with performance and the point with every single technology applied to top athletes at the end of the day is to what extent, I would say 2 points. First, you already mentioned, is what is the potential? Because at the end of the day, the market, the potential of that market is not that big. For those startups that we see many on a daily basis that they want to implement technologies for high performance or professional clubs, from a performance perspective, the market is not that big. So my very key point here is that we have to find a way, or startups and the ones that we invest, we try to support them in that way. They have to find a way to implement and offer those technologies to the general public. So for me, the key selling proposition is that if something works for a top athlete, without saying any names, then this technology can be applied and launched to the general market. And this is where the potential is. So if you are able to launch a performance technology, if you are able to launch a nutrition tool, if you are able to launch something that is working for a top club, that for me is not a business in itself. This is for me a branding or a prescription skills in order to launch to the general market. And my second key point here is that probably the industry, and this is my very personal impression, is too much focus, and even from performance perspective as well, but from fan engagement and venue management perspective. In my very personal view, the industry is too focused in technology and less focused in needs to be satisfied. And I think this is the key element. We have to, as people in the industry, fully analyze and be aware of what are the needs that we want to satisfy, and then we can look for technologies. So for instance, for me, top properties, football clubs or federations or top properties in different sports, they have to start thinking about how they can become platforms in order to serve fans to satisfy different needs. For instance, related to nutrition, related to performance optimization, related to the experience of the fans being entertainment companies.
Yeah.
So I think my point is, let's focus in needs. Let's think how we, from the sports industry, we can evolve to other related industries, and then we should look for the technologies.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Javier, for this. I'll come back to you with some, thoughts on investments if we have time. I want to move to Christian in LA, very early in the morning, your time. Thank you very much, Christian. Having your coffee so early with us. We know each other for a few years. I know people are looking up to you and the work you've done with LAFC as a CTO. Around the biometrics in the stadium, around automated retailing. Yeah. What's happening in the stadium? What have you done there? Tell us a little bit. And also, what are your plans moving forward? I know you have this, unique ideas with anything to do with innovation.
Well, thank you. Good morning from Los Angeles, and super excited to be here today. It's been great. The conversation we've had so far, what Alexander talked about, what Robert, Javier, and Frank all mentioned, we're basically playing in all those spaces, right? So it's a really interesting time for global sports, and then specifically for LAFC. There's a lot of things that we're working on today, and I'll give you a quick run through. So, in venue for us, our key focus has always been eliminating friction for the customer, and so any and everything to do with autonomous retail and using biometrics to age verify, to pay for things, that's been a real focus for us. In fact, pre-pandemic, we were headed down a path for biometric ticketing, and we actually started a pilot with Ticketmaster and Clear, which is our identity platform partner here in the US. And we got 3 games into the season, and of course, everything shut down. And so we'll revisit that. But this year, we've launched, and we launched it a few weeks ago for System of a Down, which is a heavy metal band, Armenian band here in Los Angeles. We launched an amazing biometric age verification and payment system using an IoT autonomous retail unit. So what that means is you can basically buy beer, canned cocktails, and wine with your face.
Wow.
We launched it. It was very successful. And we're going to be rolling that out for the LAFC season starting this Saturday on the 26th. And so we'll expand on that. We'll move it to regular bar spaces as well, where there's actually human bartenders. But the autonomous piece has been key for us because here in the US, and I'm sure it's the same globally, staffing has been a real challenge. We're probably 75, 80% of the staffing we actually need in venue these days. And we don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So wherever we can use technology as a force multiplier, we'll absolutely do it. And so we're focused on that. And then, the 5G conversation you guys just had is a really good one. The reality is 5G is the future, right? We've been using 5G in a limited scope, but going back to player performance real quick, player performance and tracking is something that we've been hyper focused on, and it has everything to do with the viability of the player and for them, to have longevity in their career, right? So anything that we can do to help them prolong their career, we want to look at it. And that connectivity through 5G has helped us tremendously because we've got a training facility, and we also have an academy that plays in various parts of the city, and we don't necessarily have infrastructure at those facilities. And so having that 5G connectivity has been really important. And in Los Angeles, 5G is prevalent. It's pretty much, it blankets the entire city, which is a large city, as you know, but there's really nowhere you're not going to have 5G coverage. So that's been really helpful to us. Beyond that, there's a lot of stuff, but go ahead, Amir.
I know you can, share with us a list. I'm sure most of the crowd will be, more interested in that than anything else. But I just want to touch with Alex, coming back to you. If I'm a brand, club, federation, what is the elements I need to look at if I'm putting my strategy around tokens? And also, quick question on, we have the metaverse panel later on. How does this fit in, the tokens, the NFTs, metaverse? How is it all? Map it for us in 1 minute if you can. 30 seconds.
I thought I was not able to use NFT in metaverse, but I think nothing is exclusive, actually. What we've learned, for example, the last 4 years, it's sports property, clubs, federation, or everything. They can't reach 100% of their fan base. They can tell you they have 500 million fans, but the reality, they have a 5 million email database at best. My point here is you need to have different product to reach different segments. And some people will go in the metaverse, whatever that means. Some people will use NFTs as a collectibles, memorabilia, fantasy. Some people will use fan tokens for a certain engagement type. This is not a situation where you have to choose. You actually need to embrace as much as you can. Some will fail, some will succeed. And going back to Robert, you need to actually try as much as you can to fail fast, because the more you fail, the more you have a chance to actually innovate. And I think, sure, if I own a Paris Saint-Germain token, it should give me access to a stadium in the metaverse, wherever the metaverse is. It should give me access to a Sorare card and maybe some highlights of Dapper. So all of this is connected. It doesn't mean that it has to be one platform, just one exclusive ecosystem. I think it's going to be a sum of different initiatives, and everybody will find their way.
Great stuff. Almost 1 minute. Robert, I know the Bundesliga is, as we said, is active, is out there for innovation for many years. Can you reveal maybe a few secrets just for us? What is your next amazing project?
Well, we're doing a lot of work in the areas that we're not allowed to talk about. I think any league has to look at it. So I'd say that's going to be amazing. And I think I would take the minute that Alex has just talked about, and that is the situation. Nothing is mutually exclusive, and it's actually about finding the environment where you're going to engage on a relevant level for the right demographic with the right product. And we're looking at all these places. I would say it's massively exciting, an area that we worked on over the last 18 months. So it's not the next thing, but we're always developing with them, is our partnership with AWS. And I think gives a really good example of
From Tel Aviv, great company, yeah.
No, I'm talking about Amazon Web Services.
Okay.
So
I know WSC, but I gave them some cover, some...
I know you're talking about, and Aviv Arnon's company is a great company, yes. But here I'm talking about AWS, who are obviously based on the West Coast. And they, the reason we got into a partnership with them was, of course, to push our technology and our products. And we started developing these Bundesliga match facts, which are created to make the viewing experience and the engagement better for all of our fans. and also different depending on, as Alex was alluding to, whether you're in Japan or whether you are in France or whether you are in Chile. The idea being that we gather, as you know, in our innovation hub between SportsTech and also our archive, millions of data points. By being able to develop and working with someone who's got artificial learning and artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities, we are able to then actually drive products in such a way that we can respond to what is going to be we're always thinking, what is the future, at least of broadcast, going to be? And that future is going to be localization, customization. And I like the way to describe it is, if you imagine today, you've basically got one satellite feed going up, or maybe 3 or 4 into your international universes, different part of the world. If you flash forward 5 or 6 years, that is going to be turned to 50 million individual streams, with everyone wanting their individual personalization. Yeah. And in that then is going to be fed the products such as what Alex does, all the new innovations that you can do, statistics, whatever you want, and you'll pick and choose what you want. And that's the journey that we're all on, I think, at this moment.
All right, Robert, thanks for this. And Javier, I wasn't that successful getting any kind of secrets from Robert, but I'm sure you can tell us, where are you putting the money of Aser? Where is it going?
Following on Robert's point, actually, how to improve the experience of the remote fund. Remember that Aser is owner of 11 Sports, so it's one of the key broadcasters in different countries. So how we are able to increase and improve that experience, that is something that for us is absolutely critical. So what type of information we can share, how we present that information, how information can be different and the signal can be different to different countries. Obviously, everything related to sponsorship and link that sponsorship to the different geographies. So how the fan can experience in a different way the sport experience and the broadcasting, definitely this is our top one priority area.
And I know that you're also quite active in the other 2 words we're not allowed to mention.
Yes, we are, but we agreed that we were not going to mention them. So.
Of course. Somebody is keeping the rules here.
You have another panel.
Yes,
panel on
absolutely. Christian, tell us something amazing you're working on. Just give us, just to get the appetite on.
So one of the big things we're working on is a blockchain membership platform that we want to bring to market, hopefully this summer. By July, we think we'll bring that to market. And we're working on that, as well as basically an entire ecosystem around blockchain. So imagine fan tokens, near and dear to Alexander's heart. There's some opportunity that we have with partners there. We're also hyper-focused on bringing a stable coin into the venue to pay for things, especially in the autonomous realm, where you're just walking up, grabbing what you want, or just walking out, and those types of retail environments. But we're excited. We've got a lot of those
blockchain platform. Sorry, please continue.
That's it.
All right, just as we are wrapping up, Frank, you just landed from the All-Star weekend. Anything interesting new you saw there regarding fan engagement, anything at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is a weekend of engagement, and for those who know the All-Star weekend, also know that it starts on Friday with a tech summit. So having a tech summit in the US with the highest level of leaders in the industry is always inspirational to start with, and then to see the activities during the weekend. The 2 words that we are not allowed to speak about are very prominent also there. Also already, I would say, in terms of applications. So I think it's fair to say that, probably when you go there, you're probably 10 to 12 months ahead of Europe at the moment. When you see the already consumer applications that you can witness and that are that are demonstrated there. And but I think at the end of the day, the situation is also the same. It is a lot of people know sort of where the North Star is, where the things are going, but not exactly in what way and how it will pan out. And there is a lot of healthy uncertainty about what it will be. There's different schools of thoughts, a lot of skeptical views. You get literally the Mark Cubans in discussions with other high level professionals and those of that he will never hold back and will always speak his view and a very qualified view also in this case.
So healthy uncertainty. That sounds like a good summary and maybe something we can also relate to later on with what is planned today. I want to thank all of you, Robert, Alex, Frank, Javier,
Pleasure.
Christian. This is just an appetizer. I'm sure we can talk for ages. Back to you, Daniel.